welcome you all for the event on IIA Foundation Day. So, as I mentioned earlier, the occasion is IIA Foundation Day, which is on 12th May. But today, for the sake of convenience, we are celebrating it on 15th May. And our today's chief guest is eminent architect Jayant Dharap. To welcome him, I request our center chairman, architect Sandeep Khatpe. Sandeep, please.
Thank you, Jyoti. Uh, I welcome architect Jayant Dharap. Firstly, I welcome you all. I would like to thank my team for conducting this program in spite of this situation. I would urge everybody to be safe, stay at home, take precautions. And in this situation also, my team has done a good job, and thank you to everybody. Welcome all, and we'll move on to the program without wasting any time. Jyoti, back to you.
Yes. Thanks, Sandeep. Jayant's brief introduction. He did architecture from Pune University and post-graduation in landscape architecture from School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. He is practicing for more than 30 years. Alongside, he was visiting lecturer in BKPS, worked as examiner on Pune University panel, and was a jury member of School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. He ranked first in bachelor degree and got gold medal in master's degree. Wow. Got JIIA award and ASA award twice, once Rathi Behre award and another industrial category award. His work was published in Inside Outside and IIA Journal. I always know him as dynamic yet humble architect because I know him for last 25 years almost. This is a rare quality, of course, being dynamic and humble. And I always see that quality in him. He won the first place in the Indian chapter of American Concrete Institute's award for excellence in concrete construction. The project title is The Cave That Traveled. The name itself is very interesting and exciting. The project done is Wayanad, Kerala. So to know more about this exciting travel, I hand over to Jayant. Before he begins, I request you all to put your questions in chat box. We will attend all the questions after his presentation. Over to Jayant.
Thank you, Jyoti. Thank you, Sandeep. Mrinalini, can I request you to allow Snehal Mizar from my office, who is my colleague and who was with me in the making of this cave. She will be sharing her screen and she will be running the slideshow. She is far more techy than I am, so I think I'll safely leave it in her hands. Thank you. So good evening to all friends, relatives from Pune and outside Pune. Chairman Sandeep Khatpe, Vice Chairperson Jyoti Panse, Mrinalini Sane, Joint Secretary, Convener Vivek Garode, and many other office bearers behind the screens, behind the stage, who are furiously doing work to make sure that this program happens properly. Thank you very much for inviting me and inviting me to share this very interesting experience of this cave that we did in 2019 to 2020. Can I ask the screen to be kindly shared, please? I have to confess that I am normally taken aback by staring at a screen or giving my presentation to a screen. So it is good to see many familiar faces. And in this age of new normal, I think we just have to adapt to whatever new form of communication we are faced with. So let's just try to make the best of it. And let's just hope that it happens seamlessly. So when Mrinalini and I had talked about making a presentation of this particular project, that is a cave that traveled, which we did in Kerala, I thought that it would be a good idea to share some other caves or how we actually came to this cave. So permit me to digress a little bit and touch upon some things that actually led us to making this cave in Kerala in Wayanad. Next. So I have been always fascinated with caves, even as a kid, and I believe the seamlessness of the surface, as the floor becomes the wall becomes the roof, the seats are part of the wall, and all this seamlessness and this very amorphous yet very mysterious kind of an enclosure that used to fascinate me quite a bit. And even later on in college, when I was visiting the Doshi sir's Gufa with Girish Doshi, this idea of making a cave was stuck in my mind since then. I believe the Hussain Doshi Gufa got completed in '92, and I believe it was in '95 or '97 that we went to see it for the first time with Girish. And the sense of space, the sense of enclosure was absolutely stunning. So we got the opportunity of making a few caves on some of our sites, some small, some large. And the first one that we made was in year 2000. But it took us almost like 14 years and 3 caves later that we really could figure out how to make the cave that we wanted. So I'm going to share a small clip of cave number 4, which we did in 2014. The film is by 2 young filmmakers, Ravati Wad and Ali. And I'm going to share the film now. Next, Neil. I hope you can all hear the sound. So a little bit of a flashback. The first cave that we attempted was in year 2000. It was a small sort of an almost like an alcove at the next to a garden area, and we hardly knew anything about making caves, but just the fascination that was coming out in the form of either some brickwork or some little bit of stonework. Ferroconcrete as a material was not really known to me personally. So we could sort of make our, we could try and do stuff in the way that we do. Next. The next cave that we got to do was in 2002. We call it cave number 2, which was in a housing complex also in Pune, where some semblance of creating an amorphous form was sort of slowly coming to us, but still it left a lot to be desired. The cave number 3 next. The next cave that we did for a friend in Khandala really gave us the opportunity of learning about what we really wanted to do. Next. So this is the completed, can you go back, Snehal? Yeah, so this is what the completed cave looks like. Next. So the plan, in the plan, we have an entrance from an upper level on the right-hand corner, right bottom corner. And what you see is actually the cave below the walkway over which we can actually walk. And there is a lily pond which sort of goes inside the cave. And the place where you see S1 is a place where you can actually go and sit there, and you can actually dangle your feet in the water. So this was an interesting experience for us. Next. This experience was with a lot of anxiety, anxious times, because we were struggling, we were not sure. This was the first real cave that we were trying to attempt. And when we say real, we had vision of what we wanted, but a very not a very clear idea of how to convey it to the contractor. And in this, I actually feel that the contractors, the role of the contractor and the patience that the contractor had was absolutely amazing. And he gave as much input, or he gave as much effort to this entire project as we did. And he could, he just came in frequently as we wanted. There were times when we just went off without any work done. So we had to also figure out a way to convey to the contractor as to how the surfaces would move and how we wanted the surfaces. We could actually see them in our mind, but we did not have the ability to use maybe a 3D imagery, or so we tried to sculpt that entire space, but we managed it pretty well. Next. And this is the completed cave. This is 2011. You can see on the bottom, on the left-hand side, you can see the lily pond that comes inside. And you can see where you can sit with your feet dangling. You can see the garden from here. So this becomes like a very interesting pavilion in the garden where you can sit and actually enjoy the garden. Since this is below an area where you walk over, this is below a lawn, this is pretty cool. And I believe the success of the microclimate of the space came by the fact that every time we went to the site, all the workers would be coolly resting here. And this would be the best place for them to rest. So this actually made it clear for us that in times to come, this would be the best place to stay, best place to enjoy. Next. So lighting makes it quite dramatic, and these are areas which are actually part of the exterior. But like I mentioned, this sits firmly as architecture, as landscape architecture, as a sculpture which one can inhabit. It's everything. It's architecture, landscape architecture, sculpture. It's everything. Next. So while this cave was going on, the cave number 4, my client and a friend, he actually asked us to, we saw this area that this was supposed to be a stilt area. And we thought that this would be a dramatic area for making some kind of a resting place or place from where you could enjoy the garden. So we asked his permission to do something, because the cave was a topmost on my mind at that time. We showed him some images of the cave that we had recently made in 2011. That is the Khandala cave. And he sort of had the perhaps courage to say, okay, as long as you know what to do, please go ahead. Next. So this was the notional plan that we made. This plan was, at that time, very tentatively figure out where one would enter, what one would do there. So we sort of predicted what the spaces would be used like. Next. So as you can see, we became a little bolder from the earlier cave, from our Khandala cave. And we could do things that we were unable to attempt there because the size was a little larger. But a lot or most of our learning was from the Khandala cave. And we just could apply it a little better or more maybe more confidently and more assertively. Next. By the way, the images, the photographs are all by my good old friend Atul Kanekar. All the bad photographs and the jerky videos are our side photographs. So please excuse them. But all the good photographs are by Atul. So this is a view of to the outside. It's got magnificent views to the backwaters of Khadakwasla. The edge of the cave, the floor that you see is all in its channel, is it, Pauri, which actually is from a tile which is broken into pieces. As always, the shades, the paint shades and the discern of tiles and the surface finishing is never complete without the contribution from my wife Sujata, who's called Suju. Next, please. So here we got an opportunity to create very interesting very interesting terraces, very interesting places from where one could sit. Kids can sit and they can look out. Next. Next. The size of this cave and the roof level that was available, the difference between the floor and the roof that was available to us. I must mention here that the column locations, the column and the 2 feet by 2 feet RCC columns were already there. And we just took them in our stride and we just took them, accommodated them, we acknowledged their presence, and we just created a kind of a shell around these columns. The shell was twisted in plan from the base to the top. We created a series of models to find out how we could explain how to make this to the contractor. And we then actually, the way we did it was we actually visited, I must have, for each cave, I must have visited at least 50 to 50 times or so. And in varying amounts of time, maybe sometimes just for 10 minutes, sometimes for an entire day. But here it sort of was a long drawn kind of a thing. And we were able to do a lot more than we could do in cave number 3. Next, please. So while this cave just got completed, we had the occasion of actually dealing with an area which was like a spillover area from of a multi-purpose hall of a housing complex, and had retaining walls on 3 sides. So this was like a locked area, and only one side, the exit and entry sides were open. It was a very narrow in width, slightly longish. I think it's around 6 meters by 12 meters or so. So we decided to try our hand at making of using some fractal geometry, because we also thought that we should not do the same thing over and over again. So we decided, and that was the time when I think I'd come across the I forget the Zadi, the showroom that she's made. I think a tap manufacturer's showroom, and I was fascinated by the way in which the fractal geometry could be used. So next. So here was another challenge to figure out how to convey this new idea to the contractor. Basically, one realizes that even making a small model was not possible, because the sense of space that you can actually perceive when you are standing within the space is completely different. So we figured out some ideas of taking images. When we would draw on images. When we created this series of sections, we made some 15, 16 sections all along, and then we made the different profiles. So we're constantly trying to figure out what is the best way in which not just the contractor, but we would be able to realize how to make that or how to convey the inputs to the contractor. Next. Yeah, so this is work in progress. The left-hand side, you will see images which are where we are trying to make head or tail of what is going to happen. The bottom, the right-hand side top, perhaps is where we have come slightly closer to the finality. Bottom right is where the concreting, the casting is already started. Next. Next. So we had some openings to to keep books, and some openings to just relieve the space, or to create some kind of a cupboard or some situation where we would be able to relieve that entire space a little bit. Next. So this video has sound. It is a jerky video which I had taken on my camera. So sorry for the quality. So in 2019, beginning of 2019, we are doing a project in Kerala, in Wayanad, for an old friend, a couple we know for a very long time. And incidentally, when we actually had figured out the location of a swimming pool, which we were proposing as phase 2 of the project, we realized that we were putting a swimming pool which requires a sort of a flat water level into a site which is sloping. So what we did was that we tucked in the entire swimming pool into the site, into the slope, and we got an alcove kind of a situation where we could make a cave where the swimming pool would go inside the cave, and part of the swimming pool, the deck would be jutting outside, which would create the kind of privacy for the pool from the lower side of the pool. Next. So this is the plan of the cave on the left hand side. We have a sunk sitting area which is in brown, and so one can actually sit in that area, and water is up to your shoulder level when you sit. And in the right hand side, the section that you see, you will be able to see the retaining wall and the slab on the top, and we have got the soil filling on the top. There is a lawn and some planting, and you can see that one part of the, if you compare the plan in the section, one column actually goes into the water, and one column goes and rests on the deck. Next. So we had a very funny journey in this. We first of all tried to figure out, we first of all set out to find local people who would do this work in Kerala. But the local craftsmen were it was very difficult, I won't go into the details, but it was very difficult to find an honest person to work in this area. We had a couple of slightly awkward experiences where the same project was claimed by two people that I have done the same thing and some other persons. So we were a little unsure because this was a huge thing for us and for the site as well. So we finally, our client suggested that it would be better if the second important thing was that this kind of a design needs a very, very close engagement with the site when it is being done. And if you actually consider that the span of around, say, 6 months to make the cave, then almost the first 2.5 months needs a connect with the site, or needs a connect with the place where the cave is being made almost every day. Because this needs to get done on a day-to-day basis. There needs to be a little tweaking. We need to give inputs to the contractor. The contractor needs to construct something. And then we need to go back the next day because we couldn't physically stand there to watch it being fabricated. But we almost did that, and almost for a period of from I think the middle of August, September, and much of October, we were going to site. Depending upon the rain, we are practically there every day from like 7 o'clock to 11 o'clock. And then we would, our contractor, he is the one who said that you don't worry, we will make the entire cave in Pune and we will transport it to Kerala. So what we did was that we actually, the retaining wall on the site was already getting done. So we created a mock-up on the site on a place in Kothurud, which he rented for a while. We put flex on all sides because we had to physically draw, because we had to create the 3D out of a 2D kind of image. So we created a kind of a pendant, if you will, using flex material. And we actually started by trying to figure out drawing on the ground, drawing on the wall, trying to figure out how we could draw in the air, using wire to make lines in space, which could by which we could tell the contractor how to connect, from point A to point B. And it was very freaky. Like first, I believe the first 2 weeks we just spent trying to figure out how in this kind of situation, because there was no wall. It was windy. It was like shaking everywhere. There was water dripping from the top and all kinds of issues. Next. So we had to resort to a lot of different ways in which to explain to the contractor. And if you see the bottom right bottom left image, sorry, where we actually then sketched on top of the flex. And what we then used to do is that we would forget the instructions that we would give the contractor. So what we needed to do is that we needed to videotape everything that we told him. Then we would go back to the office and send him those videos so that he would not forget. And that's how it got happened. Next. So this is a situation where almost all the fabrication work, as in the skeleton work, is getting completed. Some fine tuning, and here you can imagine that while in our mind or on drawing, we knew that one of the columns was only up to the deck level, and the second column was 4.5, 3 feet extra. It was going into the water. Here we had a flat piece of land where we had to actually, make the people who were working imagine that this is what's going to happen. So we actually created the base of the column separately, which you can see in an image on the top, where I'm seen talking to that guy, yeah. And so that is the column which is entire, and where I'm standing is the column which is sort of half done. And so it was an interesting thing. Now the flex had to be removed because they had to start putting the chicken mesh next. And when the chicken mesh was completed, we actually came to realize in its entirety how the cave is likely to look. At least the surface mesh was rendered and the surface mesh could be seen. It could be experienced. And these images are by Atul Kanikar. He has been a rock solid supporter all the time. We made him come at 8:30 at night, in some godforsaken place. And he went, he never does, in fact, he never complains. Till then, everybody around also was, got into the act and got into the excitement of the thing because they could see things happening very interestingly. Next. So this is the completed image. The size of the cave is approximately 60 feet in 50 feet. The area that we require is 60 feet. It's around 12.5 meters plus on either side. And the depth is around 5 meters. Next. So after a lot of breaking our own heads and the heads of some other friends to find out how we could actually, transport this, how we could break it down and cut it up and transport it, we figured out a way in which we made it into some kind of a bracing and caves, bracing of the different brace supports. And the entire thing was loaded on to 2 trucks first, but the volume was too large. Actually, the weight was very, very less because it is all completely, it's all like a skeleton. So it was loaded onto 3 trucks finally. Next. And it reached the site. So you see at the site, at that time, we had to sort of closely manage the point that the site was getting ready at Kerala. The cave was getting ready at Kerala. We were getting anxious and impatient for it to be done. And I'm just resonating the thought in all architects' mind, because all of us go through this very, very frequently. So in the bottom left, you can see that the cave is finally reached the site and it is just got inserted inside. The cut pieces are all sort of taken out and joined together. Where the columns are made, we actually cut it up, we opened it and covered the existing RCC column. Next. The casting starts. And Wayanad is a very interesting place in that it rains literally any time of the year. And we were fortunate that when the casting was being done, that is the concreting was being done, it was very nice and humid, sometimes getting rain. But the problem was that to be able to reach the actual exact place, we had to make a series of scaffolding. So for us, to see the entire cave in its entirety was not at all possible till this entire scaffolding was removed. So we actually had to walk down and climb up and look through, etc. Next. So we waited for the swimming pool finishing also to get done before we had to do the final finishing of the surface coating of the cave. We looked at the different ways in which we could do a coating, and our old friend Mr. Devapar of Jason's, who has been again a support for us for any kind of difficult challenge. He always rises to the challenge when he provided the coating to us. Next. And this is how the cave now looks. This is present day, where the part of the deck goes inside the cave, part of the swimming pool goes inside the cave. We made sure that the part of the pool that goes inside the cave was shallow, so practically everybody could sort of enjoy being under the cave and being in the pool at the same time. What you see on the right hand side is a small area where there's a sunken seating. Next. So in the central image, what you see from the top is that we have put some shower heads there on the top, which actually gives a very beautiful sound of, we are simulating the sound of rain. And we put shower heads with a lot of pressure. So normally when it's very hot in Wayanad very frequently. So we just put on these 3 showers and the sound is absolutely beautiful. It means that it is raining outside. And to stand under that shower in the pool is just amazing. Next. I must confess that there are so many things that we had imagined would come out the way they're actually done. But there are so many things that have been such a beautiful, like a found object, or like so it's a very unknown kind of an image that has come about, really. Next, a surprise of sorts. So these are the 2 seats that you can see where people can chat with each other. They can chat with people inside the pool. They can sit at the edge of the pool and put their feet inside. Next. You can see the sunk seating. There is a pavilion on the deck, which is it's like a gymnasium, which looks into the pool. And below that is a kitchen to serve the pool and to serve a dining block that we have created. Next. So this is the house where the owners stay, which has an access to the pool from the steps that you can see on the left-hand side of the photograph. The planting is currently just underway. Those bars that you see above the cave are there's going to be some planting in front of them, so the bars are going to be completely hidden. And the large trees have just gone in. Next. Next. Next.
Can you hear the sound?
No. Can you check your sound?
Yes.
Share sound.
Can you hear now?
Yes. It's a model that we made. The site in Pune. Marking of the pool. We started work in Pune around this time.
Wow. Jayant, simply fantastic. Fantastic. I'll go to the chat box for questions now.
Yes, please.
Jyoti,
Yes.
before anybody asks any question, if you can read some comments from many people. People have given comments. I would like
Yes, sure.
you
Sure.
to read certain comments.
Yes, sure. I will do that. The mesmerizing congratulations on a fantastic project. This is by Prashant. And Shubhada Safekar said, simply fantastic. Congratulations, Jan. And thematically, it looks like you were looking for sites and clients all along to express an idea of space that could be realized in a more or less similar gens or all along. The last one is where you could actually realize it. Mayuresh said, what a process, fantastic and fabulous product. And Sanjeev Joshi, Jayan, this definitely deserves the award you got. So much creativity and process of making it truly commendable. Congratulations. And Shraddha Shah said, actually a piece of art to receive this award and many more. So Jayant, you are flowered with really compliments, nice compliments, and you really deserve
Sure.
it. Now, shall we go to the chat box for the questions?
Yes.
Any questions, please? Yeah, the first one I got, please share the role of client in this project by Mrunalini.
Yeah. So can I take that immediately?
Yes, sure.
So I believe that in any project, a large part of the award is to be given to the client, because the project is contingent on the client allowing the architect to do whatever he wants to do. And if there is a situation where the client and the architect are at cross purposes, then it will never work. So I believe it was once Narayan Murthy of Infosys said that this has to be like an orchestra where every person has to perform to his best of ability.
Yes.
And it cannot be a solo. It cannot be a solo performance. It has to be a orchestra. And the main orchestrator is the architect, but one of the key people is the client who allows the architect to do what he wants. Then for the visualizer, which in this case was us, and for the contractor to also get into the energy of that entire thing. Because the contractor doesn't have the same energy as the architect. If it is done with a frown on your face, it never works. So as Sanjay Patel and we normally say, ki bhatti zamli pahiye. So everything has to come to the right proportion. Everything has to be in the correct manner, and only then it will go to fruition.
Yes.
So the client's role is huge.
Yes, very true. So it's a combination of architect's creativity and client's support and the contractor's ability to perform. Yes, very true.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Another question has come from Ameya Bosekar. Sir, can you please explain the finish of the cave?
So the finish of the cave is it's hand rendered cement, as all most ferroconcrete projects are. It's actually the final rendering. It was with hand and with a trowel. So it's basically a trowel finish, and the final coat given onto it is like a silicon-based coat, which allows the swimming pool water to not discolor that entire area. This is an area where there's going to be a lot of rain. So maybe in 5 to 7 years, one would have to get a fresh coat of paint, but it's like a painted cementitious structure. The paint, I believe, is also cementitious. So the bond with the cement is very good. And therefore it looks almost seamless. It looks as if the finish of the surface itself is that color. Whereas we actually have chosen that color and given it to the paint.
Okay. Okay. Shall I ask the next question?
Yeah, please.
Manjiri Mahajan, she's asking how much of this is seen with the mind's eye prior to execution, and what is the margin of variation while translation from mind to sight?
So I would like to believe that in this experience, what has happened is that we saw an amorphous image of what was going to happen. We knew where the we knew where the entrance was. We knew what we had to do, and I had drawn some kind of a doodle or a kind of a scribble to know that the top would be like this. It would not look like a harsh area. It would not look like a built form. It would eventually be covered by climbers. So I had drawn a very amorphous or a very sort of doodly kind of a sketch. But in the doodly sketch, we knew that there are certain areas which were going to be in shade. One column was going to be short, one column was going to be long. As the cave moved along, we had to imagine, because also while we were making it on the ground, we had marked that this is the deck and this is a pool. So we had to realize that when we were standing on the deck, nothing could be less than 7.5 feet in height. So our headroom had to be very clear. While we were standing in the swimming pool, part of the cave could go down. The headroom was to be referred from the base of the pool. So because of that, generally let's say the notional form of what it was in the mind's eye. Much of it got developed as almost like an abstract painting. Like my wife Suju also always tells me that her guru Polte says that a landscape painter, he sees and he paints, while I paint and I see. So this actually happened like that. We actually made very random lines initially, and those random lines actually started making meaning for us the next time, and that became like the baseline for us to go ahead. And then what we did the next day, created the baseline for us to go ahead. So every day, whatever we were working became the basis of what we would do the next day. And that is what the unfolding of it. So that was, I think, one of the most arduous, one of the most difficult phases, but the most exciting. Because every day we would say, ki shit, yahan to kuch nahi hua. And we would say, ki haan, he khub chandar hai. So every day we would mark it, and we would tell the contractor that, okay, you do this and tomorrow we are going to come and see it. And then he would call and say, ki sir, we couldn't do it. So let's do it day after tomorrow. So then we could, do it the next day. So that is how the mind's eye image is always there, but it actually crystallizes better as each day passes, and it has to crystallize to its final form.
Yes. So it got evolved gradually.
Yes, it has to evolve gradually, because you cannot, I don't know of any way in which one can, so a lot of people who came to see the half-finished work, some architect friends, some artist friends asked me, why can't you make a model? Why can't you make a computer model? But in a computer model, I'm seeing the image like that. And when I'm actually standing inside and making that cave, I'm actually looking at the 10, 12 meters, and I'm looking at the 5 meters width, and I'm experiencing it. And I know what experience the user is also going to get. So to be able to connect the user's experience, I thought that it would be extremely crucial for us to do it in this manner. That is why I was a little hesitant, but I thought that it was having local people was the best choice initially. But I was in a way very happy that we did not finally go with a local contractor, because a local contractor would have meant either I would have needed to stay there for all that time. So because I couldn't go there every morning at between 7 and 11 o'clock to Kerala, so that was impossible. So I would have had to stay there at site and actually watch it done. And I remember, if I remember rightly, when I'm in no way comparing anything, but I'm just saying that to be able to do certain things that need to unfold in front of your eyes, I believe that Antonio Gaudi stayed at the site of Park Güell for 3.5 years in the tent.
Yes.
he just didn't move from there. He just got it done there. So I think we are very, very lucky that we could go home and stay and go there every morning and do stuff so that it could be done, seen the next day. Nandika,
Yeah.
it answers your question.
Yes, yes, true, true. Mridali is asking again, how did you manage the balance between such site-intensive project and other projects?
So in our office, we have a joke. We know that at a time when the project is on the anvil and it is hot and it is bubbling with energy. So that is the prime thing that we have. And then we say, okay, now we'll talk about the rest of the world. So rest of the world are all the other projects, because this project is actually completely occupying our mind, because every time we are thinking, we are talking about it in the office, we are talking about it not just to Snehal but to everybody else in the office, trying to figure out different ways, trying to find out what is happening, trying to find out ways out of mind blocks, and then it is the rest of the world. So every day we sort of relegated 7 o'clock to say 12 o'clock or till lunchtime to this project. And then after that, we would be, on other projects. So for all this while, practically half a day, every day was spent on this.
Yes, true. So that's why you could achieve that balance between this project and other projects.
Yes, I don't know. I don't know whether other projects felt as balanced, but yes, we could achieve something.
Yeah. And Madhav Joshi sir is saying very poetic work, Jain. And yeah, Veena Apte is saying wonderful work, Jain. Appears to be as a place of retreat. What new mindset shift did you see in yourself, and what learning would you share, young architects?
I'm sorry, can you repeat it?
Yes. Veena Apte is saying appears to be as a place of retreat. So what new mindset shift did you see in yourself, and what learning would you share, young architects?
I believe that when you started doing this project, it seemed really impossible, and that is always a situation that we feel. First of all, we feel that our client allow nahi karega. I thought of this and the client will not allow. Then you literally a dream client who has allowed you to do everything, and then you say that this, you have to find a way to get this done. If you say that it cannot be done, then it is over. Because suppose I told the client that I needed to go and stay outside for 2 months, he wouldn't have minded at all. I know he wouldn't have. But to find out in a way to balance everything, I think one had to find a way in which we could say, okay, ABC you can do, D you cannot do. So let's find a way to figure out D. And then you chew it well enough and you find a way out of D. So then something else sort of presents itself. Ki abhi ye nahi kar sakte. So for a while, one of our problems was that we, it would rain at night. And next morning when we went at site, so this was all flex material that we had put on which we were drawing out those lines. So in the morning when we went, the marker just wouldn't work on the flex. So I knew that I had only that time in the morning. I wouldn't be able to go there later in the day. So then we had to find a way in which we had to somehow or the other, then we figured out a way, then we got markers, we got wire, all kinds of things. So I think what this has taught us is that don't get disheartened by anything, because every problem comes with its own solution. So you just have to clear enough dust and find the solution. I think that's what I've learned.
Yeah, very, very positive way of thinking. Good, Jain. So now Kalamdani sir is saying, would you say that the theme has reached a point of culmination, or there might be more to come?
So Kiran, in your next project we can find out. No, honestly, I don't know. Because when we did the first K, we thought कि अरे यार finally हमने K बना दिया. Then we did the K number 4, and then because it's like Kiran, I think it's like saying if you have designed a residence, is that a point of culmination or is there more to come? Because every client, every site, every situation presents itself as a unique combination. And if you have to actually react to that combination, the final product is always very different. So I don't know. At the moment, I don't know whether it is a culmination or whether there's more to come. But if we are presented with another opportunity, we'll know.
Sure. Yeah. Mr. Varun Fadke, he's asking, what provisions were made in design for operation and maintenance of the services, like light fittings, showers, etc.?
Yeah, a very good question. So, Varun, everything is accessible from the front side. We worked out very intricate details to ensure that there are kind of receptacles and cups and collars placed for everything. All the lights can actually be just with this is a slightly remote site in Kerala. It's in Wayanad, but it's around few from a small place called Nedvayal. So we have ensured that all maintenance issues can be handled from the front. The bulbs can be removed and replaced. The showers can be actually taken out and cleaned up and stuff. And practically, there's nothing else to be maintained. So everything else that is hidden is all not needing any maintenance to be done. I hope that answers your question.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I'll just find out any other questions. How do you translate this image to client's mind so they are allowed to execute? This question is Aurangabad sir.
From Aboli.
Yeah, Aboli Aurangabad.
So honestly speaking, I think it was by the grace of God that the client had faith in me. I had not told him literally anything that we were doing till we actually finally figured out what we were going to do. And then we had just given him an idea that this is where the deck would come in and this is where the swimming pool would come in. And I believe that it was, like I said, it is, I was pretty sincere and honest in saying that much of the credit goes to him because he literally did not ask us even once, hey, itka ka hai, why this is coming this way, why don't you do it this way? Nothing. Because if that was the case, then we would have had roadblocks at every time. How can you convey to the client? You can convey lookalike images, perhaps. There is nothing else that you can do. You can perhaps do lookalike images. I do not know of software, and I would try to stay as far away from software as possible because I think I'm more comfortable with this hardware.
Yes, very true. Actually, this faith is very important for any experimental design. If it is conventional, then this question doesn't arise. But for any experiment, this faith in you from client is very important. I think we'll take just one question now.
Yes.
Yeah, how do you work on the estimate for such projects? This is Atul Divani.
Yeah, I think it is pretty simple. We know the volume that we are going to create. We know tentatively the surface that is going to be there, and you add a margin of safety. You perhaps add, or you perhaps figure out that it will be the exact area plus maybe 30% extra, and then you err on the side of caution. So maybe you, if it is like this cave was I think around 1500 square feet. Is that right? So it was like 1500 square feet. So when we estimated it, we estimated perhaps for like 1800 square feet. And then it finally, when we actually did the calculation, it came to somewhere between 15 and 1800 square feet. So again, it also is again depends on the, so for an estimate for sake of budgeting, you can go on the higher side. And for convincing the client, you can have the client's faith that whatever is being done for you, and then you have to be totally transparent in everything that you do. And then I think it is very easy.
Yes, true. This is the last question because that question was also in my mind. Like how much construction time you took, like Pune time and Wayanad time to this entire journey?
So, if you do not calculate the construction of the retaining wall and the slab on the top, because that is just like the basic. So, just for the ferrocrete shell, we started work around September 2019. And from November 2019, the cave was shifted from here to Wayanad.
Okay.
And November and December were the 2 months when it was actually done in Wayanad, because we had to have time for us to go for the contractors team to reach there and to settle there and all these in between things. So actually, I believe that from September, October, November, December, the cave, if it were not for COVID, it would have been perhaps ready around March.
Oh.
So it would be perhaps from September to March, but because COVID came, then everything had to be just shut down. And then the swimming pool work, because then there were some other works that were related to the cave finishing, which needed to be done, ahead of time. So after those, there were prerequisites for making the cave. So once they were completed, only then we could do the final finishing, which we did in December 2020.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. So I conclude this or sum up this with, of course, thank you, Jayant, fantastic presentation. Actually, while seeing all this, I thought it's a great fusion of architecture, landscape, and sculpture all together. Because while talking, while presenting, you coined a word, sculpting the cave, and which is perfect. Like there's a sculpture there, architecture there, and landscape there. And it was, of course, a difficult task because it was out of box thinking and out of box creation. So I really thank you, Jayan, for this fantastic presentation. And we all wish you a great success in your professional work ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody for joining, and appreciate the vote of confidence. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks.
Thanks, Nehal. Bye-bye.
Bye.